Good evening, all, and welcome, and thank you for attending the Perry Hall Manor Sewer Extension Project Community Meeting. I am Deandra Walker. I'm the Acting Director for DPW&T here in Baltimore County. We have multiple staff members here tonight who have come to present a very detailed presentation to you all this evening. We will start with the introductions of the staff. We will go over the meeting format, and then we'll start to give you some information specifically around the project itself. Lauren?
Good evening. I'm Lauren Buckler. I'm the Deputy Director for the Department of Public Works and Transportation. I'm going to turn it over to Tom.
Yes, hi, my name is Thomas Flagg. I'm the Acting Chief of Metropolitan District Financing and Petitions. And I'll pass it over to Jessica now.
Hi, I'm Jessica Connors from Metro District Financing and Petitions. I am the Metro Customer Service Manager and handled the administrative and financing duties for this project. I will turn it over to Kevin.
Kevin, you might be on mute.
Sorry about that. My name is Kevin Kepnick. I am the manager for groundwater management in the Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability, and we oversee well and septic systems for the county. Lisa?
I'm Lisa Eichholtz. I'm the Chief of Sanitary Sewer Design with Baltimore County Department of Public Works and Transportation. Carlos?
Carlos, you're also still showing on mute.
Hi, my name is Carlos Vidal. I'll be the project manager for the design portion of this project. I'm an engineer for the sewer design section, and I want to pass it on to Jana.
Thank you, Carlos. And my name is Jana Guerrero, and I've been acting as project manager for the communications part of the project and supporting this team. So I'll go ahead and hand it back now over to Lauren to talk about our meeting format.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. We're excited to have so many people interested in hearing from Baltimore County on this project. I know you have a lot of questions. A lot of them may be answered in this presentation. We're going to go through these slides with the experts that are on the call. We are taking questions in the question and answer chat box that you see on your screen. At the end of the presentation, we'll be answering questions from that chat box. Nobody else can see your questions except for Baltimore County or who's asking the questions, so it's anonymous. At the end of the presentation, any questions that we couldn't get to, we will follow up via email based on the emails that were registered for this event and make sure you get answers that way. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Director Walker, give you some background on this project.
So a little bit of background on the project and why the county is doing this project specifically. Based on the age of the existing septic systems and the relatively small lot sizes and the close proximity of the existing well water supplies, it is anticipated that many homeowners will face complicated and costly repairs to their septic systems over the next 10 to 20 years. As a matter of fact, most of you know we did a survey, and 21 of the properties have a more immediate need to repair or replace their existing septic systems based on observations and reported problems. The county recommended that the sewer be extended to these properties as a health project, with the sewer design taking into consideration the eventual need to extend the sewer to most of the surveyed area. It's important to note that this administration is providing survey costs, full design costs, as well as 50% of the deficit amount of the total project. We estimate that the total project construction costs will be about $10.8 million. So that's a little bit of history of how we got here. As we go through this, you'll hear a little bit more from the councilman as well as from the other staff about some other reasons that we decided to move forward with this project in particular. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone. I'd like to begin by thanking the professional staff at the Baltimore County Department of Public Works and Transportation and Metro Finance for hosting this meeting. I would also like to thank the professional staff at the Baltimore County Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability for their work. More than 3 years ago, Baltimore County received 3 requests for assistance from residents in Perry Hall Manor who had failing septic systems. The county also received an additional complaint at a 4th property regarding an illegal discharge of sewage onto the ground surface. Those 4 issues led to a review of sanitary conditions throughout the Perry Hall Manor neighborhood. Again, we are here tonight because of an investigation that resulted from local requests. Some residents have expressed concerns about future development. As councilman, I downzoned thousands of acres throughout the 5th District to lighten development. That is what we did here in 2020. We downzoned 147 acres in northeastern Perry Hall, including Perry Hall Manor, to the lowest level recommended within the urban-rural demarcation line, 1 house per acre. Again, the entire Perry Hall Manor neighborhood is now zoned DR1. Since 2018, our office has received constant inquiries about the status of the sanitary investigation. We are here tonight because the Department of Public Works has made its recommendations. Those on all sides have the right to ask questions and express themselves. I've appreciated everyone who's contacted me with inquiries over the past month. We have sent those along to the Department of Public Works and Metro Finance. To the best of my knowledge, the county has responded with very extensive, thoughtful answers, and at my request, the county has agreed to extend the deadline for responses from residents to October 29th. I fully recognize that these recommendations have split this neighborhood. As councilman, I always try for win-win solutions. Unfortunately, here, it will be nearly impossible to find a solution where everyone is in agreement. I am extremely empathetic toward those who do not want to pay tens of thousands of dollars. That is money that comes from college funds, from home improvements, from personal savings. At the same time, I am empathetic to those of you, like many of you here tonight, who are already dealing with collapsing septic systems. As of right now, there are more than 20 homes with failing septics. It is hard to imagine these conditions not spreading over the next decade. This problem will get worse and worse, not just for current homeowners, but for anyone who tries to sell a home years into the future. Again, there are no easy solutions. Thank you again for your participation tonight, and I look forward to a comprehensive and polite exchange of information.
Okay, before getting into how we conducted the survey and why we recommend an extension of public sewer, I thought I would give a quick overview of septic systems and how they work. This picture here is a schematic of a conventional gravity system that utilizes a standard septic tank and dry wells, also called seepage pits. This is the most common type of septic system design in the Perry Hall Manor community. Sewage flows from the house to the septic tank where solids are settled out. The tank then allows sewage effluent to flow to the dry wells where sewage is then allowed to permeate into the surrounding soils. Over time, the soils around the dry wells lose their permeability and sewage levels can begin to rise in the dry well. When the sewage levels are at or near the surface, we consider the system to be hydraulically loaded or marginal. If the sewage levels are backing up into the house or onto the surface, we consider the system failed. Next slide. This slide is a schematic of a slightly different type of conventional septic system design that consists of a septic tank and absorption trenches. A smaller number of homes in the Perry Hall community, Manor community have this type of system. It's similar to a dry well system. The soils around the trenches gradually lose their permeability, resulting in hydraulic failure over time. Next slide. In 2018, we conducted a sanitary survey to assess the need to extend public water and sewer to the community. As part of that process, we compiled all of the existing info we had concerning existing wells, septic systems, perk test data, and water quality. Next, EPS staff went door to door to locate each septic system using GPS units. EPS staff attempted to meet or talk with every property owner and to discuss any well and septic concerns. And for those who were not home during the time of our visit, we left notes asking property owners to contact our office. EPS staff conducted physical inspections of each septic system that were accessible. This was a very basic inspection that focused primarily on sewage levels and hydraulic capacity of the system. Failing or marginal systems were identified as those where sewage was observed at or near the surface, or the property owner reported having frequent backups or needing to pump the system frequently. My office would not approve any building permits for additions with such a system, and it is unlikely that any of those systems would pass a thorough septic system inspection conducted for a property transfer. Next slide. So the results of the survey revealed that about 20% of the septic systems were found to be marginal or failing at the time of the inspection. Equally concerning was that the average age of the septic systems in the study area were over 40 years old. Given the life that a typical septic system is about 20 to 30 years, it is likely that many of these systems, in addition to the ones we found failing, will need to be replaced in the next 10 years. It should be noted that some of the systems were unable to be located or inspected. And if we did not see a surface failure, we just assumed that the systems were functioning okay, which may or may not be the case. The available soil data indicated that many of the properties have poor or variable soil permeability and would not meet the standards for installing a conventional septic system. And given that a large percentage of properties are less than ½ an acre and constricted by wells or other property improvements, we anticipate that these properties would require a variance from Maryland Department of the Environment to repair these systems. And it should be noted that this community was developed before any current regulations for well and septic systems, and most of these lots would never have even been approved for a building permit under the current regulations. From our experience, we expect that variance approvals would require the installation of non-conventional septic systems that typically consist of sewage pretreatment unit, which are commonly called BAT systems, and a pressurized field system. These are very complicated systems, which I'll talk a little bit more about shortly. But given the complexity of the cost and time involved in getting non-conventional repairs approved and installed, and knowing the number of properties that would need such systems, we recommended that public sewer be extended to the community. There were a few water quality problems noted by residents. However, based on the information we gathered, we did not find enough justification to warrant an extension of public sewer at this time. And we noted that extending public water at this time, but we noted that extending public sewer and eliminating the septic systems would open up on-site options for water supply issues that might arise in the future. Next slide. This is a map of the study area, and I just wanted to bring this to your attention. Each of the dark gray circles here represents the 100-foot radius around each water supply in the community. The regulations prohibit the installation of septic systems within 100 feet of the drinking water well. And I wanted to show you this map so you could see the high density of wells in the community and better understand the challenges involved with trying to get repairs to septic systems that, in addition to keeping the setback requirements. Next slide. This slide I wanted to share with you some general costs that are associated with on-site septic system repairs if sewer were not available. In general, your standard septic system conventional would be between $10,000 to $15,000. However, as I noted, we anticipate many of the properties will need to install non-conventional septic systems. In general, these require about $5,000 for a design consultant to engineer the system and submit designs to my office for review and approval. And as mentioned, these systems would also include sewage pretreatment unit or BAT. It costs around $15,000. And then there's the field system, which would be a pressurized drain field of some type that would usually cost in the neighborhood of $30,000. So the total cost of these non-conventional systems will be in the range of $40,000 to $50,000, and they may take anywhere from 4 to 6 months before they're ready to be installed. I've encountered many property owners with over my 25 years with the county who assume that their septic systems are just fine when they go to sell their property. They apply for a building permit or install a pool or an addition to their house, only to be shocked to find that the septic systems need to be replaced and that the only solution is a non-conventional septic system. So to avoid property owners finding themselves in this situation, we recommended to DPW&T that public sewer be extended to the community. Now Lisa Eichels of the sewer design section is going to explain how they evaluated our recommendation.
Thanks, Kevin. In 2018, DPW tasked our consultant KCI Technologies with evaluating at a high level options for how sanitary sewer service could be provided to your community. The selected high-level concept plan maximizes the use of gravity sewer while serving a few properties with grinder pumps and low-pressure sewers based on the topography of those lots. The Department of Public Works and Transportation made the decision to proceed with the project to install public sewer extension in the coming 3 to 7 years. The preliminary estimated project cost was developed by KCI from the high-level concept plan. That cost was provided to Metro Finance to determine the approximate cost for each property. Jessica?
So in 2021, the community property owners were sent a package containing the letter, the estimated sewer notice of assessment, a fact sheet about the property or about the project, and the Metro construction loan deferral information. Back to Lisa.
Lisa, I think you might have been.
Lisa, you're
back
on mute.
Sorry, guys. The next step in the process will be to survey the area, prepare detailed design, and advertise the contract for bid. Once we have a bid price from the contractor, our Metro Finance office will determine your final costs as property owners. Next slide.
The green estimated notice of assessment included in your package was based on the concept designed by KCI Technologies. Our engineering department will finalize the project in the design phase. Once the project is designed, bid, and awarded to the contractor, a final notice of assessment will be issued to all the property owners. This will have the final determined cost associated to your property. Next slide. Each property owner received an estimated notice of assessment in your package. On the front side is all the charges associated with your property. Each sheet may be different from your neighbor. Each property's charges are determined by their average front foot assessment. This means that each person will pay towards the sewer benefit and the deficit charges depending on their assessment. Also, each person's plumber's bill that is financed can be different as well, which is not included on the sheet. On the back of this sheet is a detailed description of the charges. Each charge shown is broken down into the assessment charge and the annual charge. The annual charge is what would be included on the annual tax bill. Section 1 is the sewer benefit assessment. This is a special assessment levied to recover construction costs for the sewer mains. Normally amortized over 40 years at 6.42%, this charge may be paid off in full at any time. All properties are assessed that are improved or unimproved. Assessable footage is normally the average width of the property. However, some properties may also be assessed for a side or parallel street frontage abutting a sewer main. The principal rate is $28.57 per foot, and the annual rate, which is the principal and interest, is $2 per foot for residential properties. Section 2 is broken into 3 charges: the deficit, property connection charge, and the system connection charge. The deficit is the difference between the cost to construct the sewer lines and the revenue received from the benefit assessments and construction cost allowances. This will be shown in the next slide. This charge is normally amortized over 40 years at 5% interest and may be paid off in full at any time. This charge is based on the assessable footage, and the deficit rate for this project is $248.999392 per foot. Since all properties have different costs, there's no standard deficit rate per foot. The property connection charge is the cost of the connection from the sewer main to the property line. This would include a grinder pump if one is needed. This does not include the plumber's bill to connect from the sewer cleanout or grinder pump to the home. This is also financed at 5% for 40 years on the annual tax bill and may be paid in full at any time. The system connection charge goes towards the cost of the master facilities necessary to enable the sewer system to operate. This includes filtration and treatment plants, transmission lines, pumping stations, etc. This charge can also be financed at 5% for 40 years on the annual tax bill and may be paid off at any time. The final part of this section is the total construction loan charges for the 3 preceding items. Section 3 is a total of Section 1 and 2. Section 4 would be if the property had any deferred charges. Deferred charges are the frontage along the sewer main for various reasons that are not billable at this present time. These charges may become payable in part or full if properties are subdivided, connections installed, or the property is redeveloped. The annual sewer benefit and construction loan charges will be added to the property tax bill you receive in July following the notice of completion. Benefit assessments and construction loan charges are liens against the property, not the property owner. The county does not require that these charges be paid off to sell or transfer the property to a new owner, except in certain situations involving property subdivisions and commercial properties. Next slide. This is the estimated financial analysis, which is based on the concept plan and all the property owners connecting to the public sewer. This is a detailed breakdown of how the deficit is determined. From the overall contract cost, the construction or the connection charges, benefit assessments, and construction cost allowances are subtracted. The county is covering the cost of the pumping station, which is included in the construction cost allowance. This determines the total deficit. This amount is then split between the county and the property owners. The county council will vote on a resolution to approve the county's share of the deficit. Next slide. This is an overall summary of the charges. The property owners will pay approximately 51% and the county will pay approximately 49% of the total construction costs based on all property owners connecting. Please note that the total paid by the property owners, which is approximately $5.5 million, can be financed over 40 years. The average annual amount financed is $2,300 for each property owner per year and can be transferred if the property is sold. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. This slide depicts the cost broken down. The red is Baltimore County's share of the cost and the white is the property owner's share. The county is paying half of the deficit, which is 35% of the project total, and the construction cost allowances, which is 13% of the overall project. The property owners are paying the benefit assessments, connection charges, and deficit, which is equal to 5%, 12%, and 35% respectively. Next slide. This schematic shows the overall view of the construction and how it serves your house. The county will install all the items in solid blue. This includes the sewer main in the road, the sewer connection to the property line. These charges are covered on the green estimated notice of assessment. The items in the dashed green will be the homeowner's responsibility to connect from the cleanout to your home. This part will be installed by a plumber of your choice, and the plumber's bill can be financed on your tax bill. Next slide. When the construction has been completed and the property owners receive the notice of completion, connecting to the sewer system can begin. You would hire a licensed plumber of your choice to connect from the cleanout or grinder pump located near your property line to your home. The plumber would obtain a permit for connection. Fees included in the plumbing permit would be the sewer house connection, a fee for connecting existing sewer fixtures, and sewer service prorated. The plumber's bill can also be financed. Once you connect to the sewer system, a sewer service charge will be an annual fee added to the tax bill based on the number of plumbing fixtures in the home. Each plumbing fixture, sink, toilet, dishwasher, etc., is assigned a fixture unit value. The total of the fixture values is used to determine which tier is billed. Most properties in Baltimore County fall either into the F25 or F35 fixture rate. Next slide. Over time, the county is aware that even the best maintained septic systems will eventually fail and require replacement solutions. Given the conditions and the space available, it is expected that more property owners would have needed to replace with an innovative system that come at a high cost and can take months to a year to implement. Instead, with this extension project, property owners can connect to the public sewer services. All the charges shown are able to be financed over the 40 years on the county tax bill and be paid annually. They also can be paid off at any time. Property owners can include any amount of the plumber's bill not covered by the grant into the 40-year financing by the county. Next slide. All the financing options are being offered to property owners who are required to connect and property owners who have the option to connect. The county financing is Baltimore County allows the financing of the construction loan charges at 40 years at 5% on the tax bill. This is an assumable lien and can be transferred if the property is sold. The construction loan may be paid off in full at any time. The Metro Benefit Construction Deferral, this program is for homeowners that are at least 60 years of age as of July 1st of the year that the charges would be assessed on the property tax bill, and you must be eligible for homeowners tax credit by reason of income. Also, disabled taxpayers may qualify. For more detailed information, please see the mailer in your packet. This program allows the annual benefit charge and the annual construction loan charge to be deferred. Taxpayers may also choose to get a private loan to pay off the charges. Terms and financing information would be between you and your lender. Kevin?
The BRF Grant program is an option that will cover the cost of the plumber's bill. That is the cost of connecting the house to the public system and abandoning the septic system. EPS administers the BRF Grant program from money that is allocated to the county each year from MDE, usually in the neighborhood of 500 to 700,000 for the whole county. Each property owner must apply and compete against other eligible applicants in the county. Failing and marginal systems are prioritized over other systems. However, we make every effort to work with each property owner to get funding if it is available. Property owners should not apply for this grant until the sewer project is under construction. Next slide. The Link Deposit program is a financing option offered by MDE, whereby the property owners can obtain below market rate financing for projects that will reduce nutrients to the bay. Details about this program can be found on the MDE website with the link that is provided here. Next slide. So to summarize, the advantages of connecting to public sewer will be improved community sanitation and groundwater quality. The future sale of your home will not be hindered by septic system inspection. Future property improvements, including additions or pools, will not be restricted by septic system requirements or limitations. And the project can be financed over 40 years with an assumable loan that does not have to be paid back when you sell the property. Next slide.
So now take a deeper look at the timeline for this project. So in winter of 2021, just a few months away, surveyors will be visiting properties. They'll be collecting information on topography, your property corners, the location of existing septic systems, and information on where your plumbing exits your home. Once they've collected all the survey data, our consultant will develop the layout of the sewer mains and low pressure sewers. They will identify and obtain any environmental permits required for the project. If any property acquisitions are needed for the project, they will be identified during this time. It is expected that the design will take 2 years to complete. When the design is complete, all permits are obtained, the project will be advertised for construction bids. The lowest responsive bid will be selected. As Jessica described before, the bid will be used to calculate the final notice of assessment and a community meeting will be scheduled. Next slide. So construction. It's anticipated your construction for the project will begin in late 2024. The preliminary estimated time to construct the entire gravity sewer, low pressure, grinder pump, pumping station, and force main system is 2 years. In late 2026, It's anticipated the notice of completion letter and requirement to connect will be sent to you when the system is complete and available for service. The deadline to connect to the sewer system is 1 year from the date of service. By 2027, property owners should have received your notice of completion letter, and it will be time for you to hire a licensed plumber to make your connection from your home to the public sewer. The plumber you hire will also be responsible for abandoning your septic system. They will abandon the septic system by cleaning out the septic tanks and then backfilling the tanks with clean fill or stone. Jessica?
Thank you. Actually, this is Jana, and I'll jump in. I'd like to say that we are operating the website that some of you may have already accessed as referenced in your letters. It's shown here, baltimorecountymaryland.gov/Perry Hall Sewer Extension, where we'll be sharing the materials that we're presenting today in this meeting, as well as others that we will make available for you to see. So please check back to that website shortly where we'll be posting the information. Stay tuned for more there. Also, we're at the point in our presentation where we'd like to open things for Q&A. There is a feature in your WebEx window down in the lower right corner that allows you to submit questions to us. We see that some have already come in, and thank you for sending those. Please click that button if there is a question you'd like to share. You'll see that there's the option to send to, and we'd like you to choose all panelists. And then you can type your question and press enter, it'll send it through to us. As a reminder, we may not be able to get to everyone's questions today due to time or the specificity if it's something related to just your property. But we do have everyone's email address as a result of the registration process, and we do commit to getting back to anyone who may not receive their answer during this call. So I'd like to take a moment here and allow for folks to go ahead and submit some questions while we assign out those that have already started to come through.
So the first question that we're going to answer was submitted. It said on the pie chart, how are those percentages of who pays what decided? The pie chart was developed by taking the costs of each section of the costs and dividing it by the total construction costs.
Thank you. I'd just like to share that we're getting some good questions through here, and we're just making sure that we're evaluating getting the right person to answer for you. So thanks for your patience.
There is a question asking where the pumping station will be located. That hasn't been set yet. It will be determined based on topography and the best location that allows us to serve as much of the properties as possible by gravity service. It looks like potentially if you back at the original map, it would be in the southeast corner. But like I said, that will be determined once we've gone out and collected all the survey data and know for sure what elevations we're working with.
One of the questions that we received, I know we have some homeowners that are joining us that have the option to connect. In the option to connect packets, there was a pick form. And that was to fill out and return to our office, letting us know if you want to connect to the sewer system. That decision was, or that form was to be returned to our office by October 8th, but we have extended the deadline to October 29th. Also, another question, can you review when payment for the annual cost will be required of the homeowner? Once the actual construction is completed of the sewer mains, you will receive another letter from me with, it's titled Notice of Completion. At that time, you would have a year to connect. Also at that time, I would go and I would activate the charges on the tax bill. So if you got a letter today, your annual assessments would not start billing until July 1 of 2022's tax bill. So the next July after the notice of completion is received. Those charges may be paid off at any time. You know, once the charges are activated, we can pay them off. So if you hadn't received a tax bill yet, you could call and we could pay that off so it wouldn't even show up on the tax bill.
There was a question asked about why not water. Why wouldn't water be extended while the construction is taking place for sewer? As I explained in on my presentation, we did look at the well and water quality issues, and we did not find enough justification to recommend it as a health project. So it would be, you know, additional cost. While it might be convenient to do it at that time, it would add to the cost of the overall project in addition to, you know, the time it takes for design.
Thanks. They're still rolling in. Thanks everyone for submitting your questions. Getting a few more answers for you now.
If the construction loan is paid off early, will the balance include the 40-year interest or is interest compounded over time? The loan is amortized, so, you know, we will, if you want to pay off the loan early, you will call our office or the Office of Budget and Finance. We will figure out the payoff amount for you, and they are good per month depending on the interest. So they are figured out for whichever month you are paying them off. We got a question regarding what is the advantage of it being designated a health project. The county offers two types of projects. A health project is where the county will finance, or I'm sorry, kick in 50% of the deficit charges. The other option we have are petition projects where homeowners, you know, petition the county to design and build the sewer. Those projects are financed completely by the homeowner. This project, because we are determining it a health project, we are paying for 50% of the deficit.
There was a question asked about the MDE Link Deposit program. I think whether or not it was an assumable. And I am not sure about that question. I know that the loan is through private lenders in affiliation with MDE, and the rate is below market rates. But the details of the loan would have to be something that you would follow up with MDE and their affiliates.
There was a question here about, has this project been part of a larger long-term county goal, which has had the timeline moved up due to issues? Actually, it came to us, as the councilman said, because of some residents that brought up the issue, and because going out and surveying the area, we found that it was a concern that would need to eventually be addressed. And so how it works is DEPS sends us a report to say if there's chances of the soil being contaminated and things of that sort. We bring it up to the county executive. Actually, this project, in terms of the funding, would also have to be approved by the county council. So it wasn't a project that was on the books initially. It's a concern that came to the county, and the county is trying to offer a solution to resolve a concern that we foresee.
This is Jan. I'd like to take the question about whether published meeting minutes will be shared. We'll actually be sharing recordings of this and the other meeting that's being held later this evening for those who have the option to connect but are not required due to failing systems. So those will both be available on the website. We'll pop that up again at the end to remind. It's also in your letter, the path to the website where you'll be able to find the information.
As far as access to roads during construction, the contractors are typically required to keep one lane open to allow traffic to pass through the community, and they have traffic control set up to the stop slow signs that you see during construction projects.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to also just remind that when you're sending a question, you can select in the pull down menu just above your text the option to send to all panelists. That'll help us just to make sure everyone is able to see and more quickly answer your questions. Thank you.
I think there was some sort of question about the depth of sewers. I'm afraid I can't see it because it was asked, but we don't know yet the depth of all the sewers. That will be determined based, again, on the survey data. When we collect information about the depth of the basements in the properties and how you're served now, that will help determine how deep the sewers have to be that are constructed. As far as I think the question was actually, what is the deepest depth that a sewer line can be installed? Baltimore County, the deepest sewer that I know of is over 40 feet deep. That's atypical. Most sewers are in the range of 8 to 15 feet deep.
I'd like to
There was
offer, oh, sorry, Deandra, go ahead.
I believe there was a question about, is this project a done deal? I will say to you all as residents that the county is trying to offer up an option because we foresee an issue. The county is going to connect the sewer because there's a need to have the sewer connected. So it is a done deal that the county is going to move forward with the project.
I'd like to offer clarification to my prior answer about the availability of materials. We'll have both the slide decks and the recording of this presentation available online. Thank you. Just a reminder, I think we may still be getting some questions sent privately to individuals. So if you can just again check that you're sending them to all presenters, that'll help us make sure we can answer more quickly. Thank you.
So one point of clarification for property owners, we've mentioned both gravity service and low pressure grinder pump. Low pressure grinder pump lets us address properties that are at a lower elevation than others. So if you sit lower than your neighbor, there are options to serve your house other than gravity service. So if you have unusual conditions, a stream crossing your property or something, there are options to still serve your site.
There was a question from someone that says, it appears that if we choose not to connect, we are still liable for these charges. And as Jessica explained, yeah, there will be charges, assessment charges for properties that have sewer in front of their properties. However, there are people that will be required to connect those systems that have been designated as failing or marginal. And for those people who choose not to connect, they will have some costs that they will be incurring anyway. And I think the second meeting that we're having later today was to focus more on those individuals and address those questions.
One question asked, what happens if the county doesn't approve the subsidies? In my 11 years that I've been here, I have not known the council to pass the resolution to pay for the deficit.
There was a question whether this project qualifies for the sale of bonds. All sewer work that the county pays for is through the sale of bonds.
Someone asked the question about what do people with failing systems do for the next 3 to 4 years. Unfortunately, those individuals will have to make do with conserving water and pumping the system as needed. It's possible that they could pursue an on-site system repair in the interim. However, those systems would be considered just that, temporary. Until such time as sewer would come, they'd be required to connect. Unfortunately, with a project like this, there may not be perfect timing for any one individuals, because when people have a failing system, they need to connect immediately. But a project like this takes many years to plan and install. So, we're really looking for the long-term overall benefit of the community. And it's not going to be a perfect timing for, you know, every person for sure.
We received a question about filing for a hearing, if it should be filed as a group or individually. I believe that would be individually.
Thank you to everyone who has submitted questions. As I mentioned, we are going to be responding to additional questions. If you have any more that you want to send as we tie up here. We also have Jessica Connor's contact information here so that you can call her directly. However, the fastest way to get a response, if you have any questions that arise after this meeting ends, is to email the Metro Finance at Baltimore County MDE.gov email address that you see here on screen. We'll make sure that the project team all gets to take a look at your questions so that we can respond as a group. We've done that for some of you who are on the call, so thank you to those who have already submitted them. We appreciate that you all have taken the time today and that you're being very thoughtful about this project. We also promised that we would share back again the website, so I'll be putting that up here in just a moment so that we can see the website path again. But I'll ask if anyone else, the other panelists from Baltimore County, have any final remarks before we tie up.
I just want to thank you all for taking the time out to hear us tonight. We know that this is a difficult decision for the residents. It's an expensive decision, but it's also a health issue, and that's why we bring it to the residents. We're definitely not trying to force anything on the residents, but we are trying to give you an option for what we foresee that is coming in the future because of the size of your lots, because of the septic systems that you currently have. So understand that the county is trying to provide an option so that we prevent some further issues in the future. But we understand the concern associated with it, and we will make ourselves available to answer any questions that we can to help you all as you make these decisions to connect to the system. Thank you for your time this evening, and we really appreciate you joining us.
And thank you to the staff for their time as well.
With that, we'll go ahead and conclude. For anyone who's taking down the website, please jot it down now. We'll leave it up for just another moment as folks are disconnecting. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Jana, are we supposed to log off and then log back on the other link?
Yes, Kevin, it's a different WebEx.
Okay, so we'll just, everybody sign out now.
Yes.